Hi, welcome to the discussion about consumer surplus. I'm going to tell you what it is. I'm going to provide you an example and also show you how you find consumer surplus graphically. So consumer surplus, what is it? Very easy. So the examples of consumer surplus, maybe you like an item, willing to pay 20 bucks for it, but the price is 12. So you get the difference, $8 in consumer surplus if you make that purchase. Let's turn to the formal definition of consumer surplus then. It's the monetary difference between what a consumer is willing to pay and the price you actually paid for that item, that good or service. Of course, your demand curve is going to tell you what you're willing to pay for the item. So look at the demand curve in helping you determine the consumer surplus. The other piece of information, of course, you need to know is the price of the item. And of course, the demand curve will show you the marginal willingness to pay for that item. And it's, of course, downward sloping. So each additional unit you're willing to pay a little less for. The first t-shirt is more valuable to you than buying the second t-shirt, for example. And so this marginal valuation of the item that a consumer places on the last unit of output that is produced. So here's an illustration of this. So typically I bring a pack of crackers to class when I'm talking about consumer surplus. I pick a volunteer who likes crackers and has some pocket change, and I say, hey, student volunteer, thank you for volunteering, and tell me what's the most you're willing to pay for this pack of crackers. And I tell them that I'm going to reveal to you my price, which will have nothing to do with your willingness to pay. And if you write down a number that is you're willing to pay more than my price, you buy the item at my price. If you want to pay less than my price, then you don't buy the item. So they write down their number, and suppose they write down 60 cents as the most that they're willing to pay. So I've just sketched in here 60 cents, and of course the consumer surplus then will be that difference between 60 cents and I am charging a quarter is my price. So they're willing to pay 60 cents, but they only pay my price of a quarter, so they get a difference there of 35 cents. So on a graph, then, this was the price of the item was 25 cents is the price, and they're willing to pay more than that. The student supposedly was willing to buy the first pack of crackers for 60 cents, so that's the first unit. And so this area here between 60 cents and a quarter is a consumer surplus of 35 cents. And that's their demand for that student for the first pack of crackers. Now, if I were to ask them, hey, what do you want to pay for the second pack? It'd probably be less than 60 cents for the second pack. So that's my example that I do in class. And then here's another example, a little prettier done with prettier graphs. And the scenario is, hey, the price is $3, and this consumer values the first unit at 5, the second unit at 4, the third unit at 3, the fourth unit at 2. So for the first unit, since they're willing to pay 5 and the price is only at $3, the consumer buys that one. And when the consumer price is willing to pay 4 for the item for the second one, but the price is only 3, so yes, they buy that one. This third one, they're willing to pay 3, the price is 3, yes, they buy that one. The fourth one, they're willing to pay 2 and the price is 3, they don't buy that one. So this consumer buys 3 items, and they collect a $2 consumer surplus here, because the difference between 5 and the actual price here, yes, is 3, so that difference is 2. And the second unit, they get a consumer surplus of 1, because a $1 difference between willingness to pay and the actual price. And finally, for this last one, they willing to pay 3, and the price is actually 3, so there's no consumer surplus there. So the total consumer surplus from these 3 items purchased is going to equal $3. Okay, 2 and 1 and 0. Add them up, get you 3. On a graph, If you have a downward sloping demand curve like we do here, and you have a price here, then this triangle is going to be 1/2 base times height. So there's a P1 here, there's some additional price here, and that difference is your height, and then Q1 is going to be that distance of that base. So that's the area of a triangle. Is here it's very helpful. 1/2 times base, yes, times height. Okay, that's a 1 right here. 1/2 base times height is the area of consumer surplus. Consumer surplus is that difference. Okay, so there's your consumer surplus discussion. And so finally, what happens to consumer surplus if price falls for the item? It was 3 and now it's 2. What happens? Well, 2 things happen. First, in this example, we see now this 4th unit is purchased, because before they were buying 3. Now they're going to buy this 4th one. They're willing to pay 2, and the price is 2. So we have a larger number of purchases, and for each purchase we now see an increase in consumer surplus, because when the price was 3, they got that difference. They got a total of 3 units of consumer surplus. They still get those 3, but look, they also get another $1 here in consumer surplus, another one here, another one here. So the consumer surplus now, the sum of the consumer surplus now is $6, because you get 3, 2, and 1. That gets your 6. So clearly the consumer surplus increases when there's been a price reduction. Okay, so, and likewise, if the price were to rise, consumer surplus would fall. So consumer surplus goes up when price drops.